Hi, I'm Scott Postma for Kepler Education, and in today's Practicum, I want to suggest that summertime learning can be a defense against the enemies of education that constantly threaten students who desire to flourish as human beings. In C.S. Lewis's essay, Learning in Wartime, he raises the valid question of why students should continue to take an interest in the placid occupation of learning when the lives of friends and the liberties of Europe are in the balance. Is it not like fiddling while Rome burns, Lewis asks? The references to a time in history when the Roman Emperor Nero played the fiddle on his balcony while he watched the city of Rome burn. In other words, Nero took up what would seem to a reasonable person to be a rather insignificant activity amidst one of Rome's most significant national emergencies. Lewis says that the answer to the question of why someone should learn in the middle of a world war lies in having the right perspective about comparative priorities. He goes on to say that we won't be able to answer this question until we have put it by the side of certain other questions which every Christian ought to have asked himself in peacetime. The reason we may not think to ask such questions in peacetime is again because of our perspective. It's flawed. Instead of comparing learning in wartime to Nero fiddling while Rome burns, we would do better, according to Lewis, to compare learning in peacetime to Nero fiddling while his soul is about to burn. His point is that humanity is on the brink of hell every day, but we don't think anything of the person who goes to college in peacetime when his neighbor is without Christ. We would all agree that a person who gave up all other human activity until everyone on earth came to faith in Christ would be a monomaniac. He's not minimizing the gravity of eternal consequences. Rather, he's demonstrating that while we humans are capable of retaining our interest in such trivialities as literature or art and mathematics and biology, while under the shadow of eternal issues, we're prone to close off the voice of reason and open our ears wide to the voice of nerves and mass emotion when the shadow of special circumstances, like war, fall across our path. Note the following quote that C.S. Lewis gives. "For this reason, I think it important to try to see the present calamity in a true perspective. The war creates no absolutely new situation. It simply aggravates the permanent human situation so that we can no longer ignore it. Human life has always been lived on the edge of a precipice. Human culture has always had to exist under the shadow of something infinitely more important than itself. If men had postponed the search for knowledge and beauty until they were secure, the search would have never begun. We're mistaken when we compare war with normal life because life has never been normal." One way that we could summarize Lewis's point is that learning should not be confined to what we perceive to be normal times, because normal times are a matter of perspective on comparative priorities. That's why, even though in his essay, Lewis is answering the weightier question of why we should learn in wartime, we can also apply Lewis's logic inversely and answer the lighter question of why we should do well to learn in summertime. The question of when we learn should not be governed, Lewis says, by nerves, emotions, danger, and by what we perceive to be the proper time for learning. For learning is a part of normal human activity regardless of what's at stake. At this point, we might do well to raise the question about our emotional attachment to, say, the academic calendar or the rhythms of institutional learning in America. The fact is, we don't have to wait until the normal school year begins to start learning again. Knowledge and beauty are worth pursuing anytime there's an opportunity. Again, learning is part of the Christian's ordinary human activities, and learning at all times, even in summertime, is the mark of a wise and virtuous human being. Lewis further notes that what makes mankind different from the animals is that while animals think only of their immediate circumstances, men tend to propound mathematical arguments in beleaguered cities, conduct metaphysical arguments in condemned cells, and make jokes on scaffolds, discuss the latest poem while advancing the walls of Quebec, and comb their hair at Thermopylae. We might add that in modern times, times in which life and leisure are not threatened by war, but bombarded by amusement and assaulted by entertainment. Free men and women study in summertime. They don't have to wait to be told that they have to go to school. They continually pursue interests that make them better human beings. In the conclusion of Lewis's essay, he offers exercises which he suggests serve as defenses against the enemies which war raises up against the scholar. Here, I would follow his lead and suggest that summertime learning can itself be a defense against at least 3 enemies of learning that constantly threaten students who desire to flourish as human beings. In the first place, learning in summertime is a defense against regular academic distractions. Of course, there will always be distractions to learning. This was Lewis's point. Sometimes that distraction is a war, sometimes it's a global pandemic, but most often it's the competing time demands of academic and extracurricular activities that can be most distracting for students today. Whether it's sports, clubs, or numerous academic subjects vying for a student's attention, learning in summertime can afford real leisure time to dive deeper into a subject matter and study at a slower pace. In many cases, it also provides more personalized attention from the student's instructor. In the second place, learning in summertime can be fun and refreshing. See, fearful that learning will get in the way of well-earned relaxation, some students avoid studying of any kind during the summer. But learning in summertime can be a defense against boredom, against the entertainment and amusements that pose as recreation, but in reality only weary the mind. And learning in summertime provides opportunities for pursuing interests that are deemed superfluous to the prescribed educational track that most students find in an academic year. Finally, summertime learning can be an opportunity to get caught up, get ahead, or simply mitigate the fog of forgetfulness before jumping into the next level in a series of studies. In closing, if we let ourselves, we'll always be waiting for some distraction or other to end before we can really get down to our work. And as Lewis notes, the only people who achieve most are those who want knowledge so badly that they seek it while the conditions are still unfavorable, be it wartime or be it summertime.